Welcome to Gamma Film. Our film begins in the maternity ward. Everyone is happy with their newborns and taking photos. The hospital is full of joy. One woman, named Andrea, was talking to the doctor. When he told her she had given birth to a girl, she was shocked. Suddenly, her husband, Harry, arrived, and upon learning it was a girl, he was also dismayed because he had wanted a boy. Later, they left the hospital, clearly not happy with their baby girl, Matilda. Years passed. Her parents paid her no attention and barely cared for her. However, Matilda was very smart and taught herself to read and write. She went to Mrs. Phelps' library to borrow books. When she returned home, she found her mother and father arguing. Her father, Harry, was supposed to register her for school, but he forgot and told his wife, "I wasn't free and I didn't even remember it." His wife told him not to shout because the education inspector and a teacher were at the house to find out why they still hadn't enrolled their daughter in school. They entered the house and the parents defended themselves by claiming they were teaching her at home. The teacher saw the books Matilda was reading and realized the girl was a genius. Matilda's father spoke to the principal, Miss Trunchbull, who was stern and tough, feared by everyone. Harry told her that his daughter was a troublemaker and he would bring her to school the next day. Matilda was hurt because this was clearly unfair to her. We see that Matilda's room looked like a storage closet, unlike the children's room in the house where they didn't let her stay. After she got angry at her father, she went to his room and put hair dye in his shampoo while he was asleep. The next day they woke up and he didn't recognize himself. Matilda got ready and left for school. On her way, she entertained herself by telling herself stories until she reached the school. It wasn't open yet, so she stood there, eager to learn. Suddenly, Mrs. Phelps, the librarian, approached her. Seeing her waiting, she told her it would be an hour until the school opened and invited her to sit with her. They sat together, and Matilda began to tell her a story she was creating in her mind. The story was about an acrobat and an escapologist who loved each other very much. They married and performed acts together. However, one thing kept them sad. They still didn't have children. They cheered themselves up with the dangerous acts they performed. One day they decided to do their most dangerous show together, which was attended by the press. In this act, the girl had to place explosive on her head and body, and wait for her husband to unlock the shackles binding him to rescue her before the dynamite exploded and she fell into a pool full of sharks. Before Matilda could finish the story, it was time for school to start. She told Mrs. Phelps she had to go and would finish the story later, leaving the librarian impressed by her intelligence. After arriving at school and going inside, she got to know her classroom. Then they saw a group of students being bullied. Principal Trunchbull was watching them on the cameras and told them over the loudspeaker that if they didn't enter their classrooms in 5 seconds, she would punish them. Miss Honey let them in this time, but warned them not to be late again. We notice that Miss Honey is very nice and treats the students well. She asked Matilda to erase the blackboard. Matilda surprised her by solving all the math problems on it. When she asked her how she knew them, Matilda said she read a lot of magazines and books by great writers. Miss Honey ran to the principal, even though she was afraid, and told her that Matilda should be in a higher class because she was very smart and a genius. The principal, of course, refused and said she was a troublemaker and that her father had told her so. After she returned, she saw her father talking to her mother, bragging about how he was scamming people by selling them old cars. Matilda tried to focus her attention on a soda can to move it, but she couldn't. Suddenly, a student ran towards them, asking them to hide him because the principal was coming to punish him. Everyone laughed at him, except for Matilda, who decided to help. She lay down on the floor and had everyone cover them with their jackets. When the principal came looking for him, Matilda told her that he had been sleeping there for an hour because he was very sick. After the boy got away, the principal saw a girl with pigtails in her hair, which was apparently her pet peeve. She grabbed the girl by her hair and threw her, leaving Matilda shocked. Trunchbull saw her and came over saying, "Ah, you are Harry's daughter. He told me to re-educate you after school." Matilda went back to Mrs. Phelps to continue the story of the acrobat and the escapologist. In the story, the couple decided to continue the show because they had no choice. They prepared themselves and went in. The escapologist placed the explosives on his wife's body and locked himself in a chain cage. The show began. He tried to unlock his shackles. In the last moments before his wife fell, he removed both locks, but the rope snapped and slipped from his hand. She fell into the pool, injuring herself badly, and they had to induce labor early. She gave birth to a daughter they were very happy with, but their joy was short-lived because the mother died soon after. The escapologist decided to allow his sister-in-law to help raise his daughter, but what he didn't know was that she was abusing her, not raising her. She made her do chores around the house and beat her mercilessly. Matilda was horrified and wanted to go and tell the police. She stopped her and told her, "This is just a story from my imagination. It's not real." Matilda Frank was surprised by her imagination and told her, "You made me believe the story was real." She thanked her and said, "Your parents must be very proud of you." After Matilda returned home, she found her father with a briefcase of money he had collected from scamming people. She didn't stay silent and told him that what he was doing was illegal. He got very angry, took her by force, and locked her in her room so he wouldn't hear her voice anymore. After he threw her on the floor, she got so angry that she began to continue the story in her imagination. After the aunt had always mistreated and beaten the girl, and the girl couldn't tell her father anything about it, one day the aunt took her and locked her in the house cellar and left. But the father came home early from work, heard her voice, and ran to open the door. He hugged her and told her, "I'm with you and I won't let you down." Afterward, he confronted the aunt to hold her accountable for what she did to his daughter. But from that night, the aunt left and never came back, and there was no news of her. When Matilda woke up from her imagination, she found the basket in front of her completely smashed from the intensity of her anger. Here, she realized she had a superpower. The next day, she went to school, surprised to find her friends giving her gifts and chocolate, and she didn't understand why. Her friend Lavender told her, "These gifts are for you because you look like the school superhero since you stood up to the principal and defended Bruce." What they didn't know was that the principal was watching them and could hear them. She started planning her revenge. Later, the principal entered Miss Honey's class and told them to get ready for training. She took the children and led them outside in the rain, putting them through very harsh military-like exercises. She was imagining herself in a world without children. Miss Honey came up to her and told her to stop because the children would be harmed, but Trunchbull silenced her and told her not to interfere in matters that did not concern her. Later, Trunchbull went to drink and found Lavender's lizard in her cup. She became very angry and saw only one boy in front of her, assuming he was the one who put the lizard in her cup. She went to punish him, but before she could reach him, Matilda began to think about all the people who hurt her in her life. She was able to move the glass and hit Trunchbull on the head with it. The lizard fell on her and she ran to change her clothes. Miss Honey was shocked by what Matilda did, but at the same time she was pleased. Afterward, the children entered the school, and Miss Honey stayed with Matilda, who showed her her power to control anything without touching it with her hands. Later, Miss Honey invited her for tea. When they arrived, Matilda saw that she was living in a hut in the woods. Matilda asked her why she lived there. Miss Honey told her that after her father died when she was young, her aunt, who was her guardian, brought them papers stating that her father had signed everything over to her. Because the aunt always abused her, she decided to leave the house and come live there away from her. She added that her father's death was not just a simple accident. Matilda saw a scarf that resembled one the heroine in her story, the acrobat, used. Matilda asked her about it, and Miss Honey told her it belonged to her mother, whom her father had given it to after telling her about their story with shows and dancing. Here, Matilda realized that the story she was imagining was not imaginary as she had thought, but the true story of Miss Honey, which she started seeing after Miss Honey came to their house for the first time. Because Matilda had a superpower, she was able to see her suffering as a story in her mind. She realized that the evil principal was the aunt in the story. Matilda left angry and resentful towards Trunchbull and decided to confront her and challenge her. She focused on the cabinet where the principal punished the children and kept looking at it until she broke it. When she returned home, she found her parents packing their bags, planning to flee from the people her father had scammed and were going to live in Spain. Matilda was upset because she